but there probably was no other way to get that shot except for like some sort of practical shot, so I still liked it. Maybe I would have preferred it to be practical just because I like the like schlocky practical effects myself personally, but it wasn't horrible, and to get that effect, you know, I guess you had to do CGI or whatever. So it's still a pretty good scene. She like pulls her arm off and she's just dead, so now we have another death right in front of Steffi's eyes. Okay, so after Julia dies, I believe maybe it cuts to her funeral, I'm unsure, but then we cut to another family meeting. It appears after every time somebody dies, they proceed to have a nice little family meeting, little family sit down about what they're going to do next. Okay, so they're talking to the mother. The mother's crying, and the mother starts to say, because Steffi and everyone, they're talking about, well, this is so weird. How did she die before Eric? Like, it's not, why is the design being weird? Well, the mother proceeds to tell them, she's crying, she says, hey, I'm so sorry. I never told you this, but you're not his biological kid. You're the neighbor's kid, Jerry Thornberry or something.
What? No!
And Eric is like physically upset. He like visibly cringes. He's so upset that his dad was this neighbor. He's like, is that why he always wanted to play catch? And the mom's crying. She said like they were having like a tough time in their marriage, or like a break or something. And afterwards, the dad just decided to step up and love him as if he were his own, but they just decided to never tell him. So yeah, now he's super upset. Now he has a tattoo of dad on his arm that isn't even his dad, like biologically. Oh yeah, also something I forgot to point out, when we see Eric fall, after he does the tattoo, there's this like metal heart that gets caught in the fire. He falls onto it when he falls from the top of the chair, and the heart like perfectly brands where it says dad on his arm, it like perfectly brands at the end of it. That's something I forgot to mention. So yeah, so they're all like, well crap. Now that Julie is gone, I look to Bobby, the youngest son, and he's like, well crap, that means I'm next then. So I believe at this time is when she pulls out all the papers from the book, shows them this collage of newspaper articles, like a whole timeline of these family trees and things of people. They see a name, JB. So they find the hospital. I believe there's a connection between JB, the hospital, and the baby that Iris saved. So they go to the hospital to try to like uncover these answers, because it's all like put into Iris's book. So yeah, they find this hospital and they go, it's called Hope River Hospital. They go there and they find down in the mortuary corners part, they find William James Bloodworth, JB. So Iris was able to save the kid in the sky view at the beginning. That kid was James Bloodworth from all of the movies, the coroner who helps the kids with death's design and everything. It turns out, he was saved at the very beginning of this. They go there to see him. He gives his final advice to them, basically tells him Kimberly Corman was able to she killed herself and then she revived, so she was able to live. And they're like, and if you someone, you can take you can take the years that they have left. This also, I believe they let Tony Todd improvise his lines here. This was a direct message to his fans, because he was, unfortunately, he did actually die. He passed away of terminal cancer. I believe his character was suffering from terminal cancer. He actually died of a terminal cancer in the movie. So this was his final goodbye to fans and stuff. It was very sweet. Walks into the great beyond, whistling. So yeah, rest in peace to Tony Todd. So they're all talking amongst themselves. Eric takes Bobby, the blonde boy, he takes him aside, and he's talking to him hey, I think I can help you with this. I don't think, we can just go off. We can leave them here real quick. We can, we're in a hospital. This is the best place to kill you and bring you back to life. So they go, and they go to this vending machine. He wants to give him peanuts because he's allergic to peanuts. It's a deathly allergy. So they go to this vending machine. He wants to get him some unsalted nuts, and Bobby's looking. He's like, no, give me the big peanut butter clusters or something, big Reese's peanut butter cups. So he gets him those, and it jams in the vending machine. So of course he goes behind it. He's rocking it back and forth, messing with it. He's hitting it a bunch of times. Eric, he's obviously still angry over his dad's death. He's just hitting it a bunch of times. He breaks the glass on it. They finally get the Reese's Pieces though, and they go into the next room. It turns out it's an MRI room, which is a big, like, magnetic spinning thing where they can see your brain. I actually had to get one of these like a year or two ago. Very claustrophobic. So they go into this room. He sits down in a wheelchair. The guy gets his EpiPen from him so he can't, like, instinctively just save himself. Obviously, you know, he has to die, so unfortunately he's gonna have to go through the pain. So he takes his EpiPen, and it is kind of hard to watch because the guy, like, he eats it, and he feels fine at first, like, nothing's happening, and then slowly he's like, his like throat starts to close up and he can't breathe. He like starts wheezing and he starts like reaching for the EpiPen, but the guy's like holding it back. And it just is kind of hard to watch just because he's like, you know, he has to do it, but like obviously it must suck like to feel yourself suffocating and like you just have to deal with it. Like you just need to get it done. You can't even reach for your EpiPen to save you. I think something happened. The kid Eric went out for a second to make sure everything was okay or something. And when he did that, when he shut the door, a clipboard fell onto the computer keyboard. And this pressed a button causing the MRI machine to come on. And somehow it slowly started like raising the magneticism. And I don't believe that this magneticism is like real. I hope not, because why would they put humans around this machine? Why would they allow human error to be around such a machine like this, you know? So I don't believe like it can go up to this magnetism, but it wasn't hard to expand your raise your level of disbelief or whatever, expand your level of disbelief. Be like, okay, this is happening, that's fine, like this could actually happen. I didn't really think about it too much. I was just like, oh well, it's a good scene, I'm gonna take it for what it is, because it was pretty creative and fun. So we see it so slowly start to raise in magnetism, and Eric is just pierced all over. First, his earlobe piercings just rip out of his head into the machine. Then we see his septum piercing rip out of his face. Next are his nipple piercings. They rip straight out of his shirt. And next, his piercing. He's got a Prince Albert piercing. And the Prince Albert piercing, thankfully, doesn't rip out of his cock. But I guess the strength, maybe it's like really deep into the like flesh of his penis. It pulls him first into the fucking MRI machine and starts like bending him backwards, like the Byford dolphin experiment, into the fucking MRI machine. Stomach first, dick first. And also, there's a wheelchair behind him. The wheelchair's metal parts, like the metal poles of the wheelchair, are like bending and starting to like go through his stomach and stab him. And it's all pretty slow because it's like a pulling force, you know, so it's gonna be a little slow, a little excruciating. Oh yeah, the thing that allowed this to happen, it wasn't like, there was like a cap, but the guy's cell phone went and hit it, and that's what allowed this like research experimental level of magnetism to come. So Eric is dying. We see him as getting crushed, you know, stomach first version of this machine. Bobby is able to crawl over and get his EpiPen. He's able to inject himself and save himself. However, a nurse opens the door because a nurse's badge is like flying like this. She notices towards the door, so she like grabs it and she follows it. When she opens the door, the fucking spring that was lodged around the peanuts and stuff, the magnet just pulls it right into Bobby's head, and it like must have pulled it at a weird angle because it starts like spiraling, because it is a big spring, so it starts spiraling just into his brain. It was like two pretty creative kills. I really do feel bad for Eric because Eric wasn't even supposed to die. He just got himself into this situation accidentally. The whole time, the estranged mother, Steffi, and Charlie were looking for them, were running around the hospital, they were trying to call them. I mean, it was pretty stupid of Eric to like try to take Bobby off on his own. I mean, at the same time, he's probably not thinking clearly because of all the bull they've been experiencing, but it is pretty fucked up. Obviously, the family finds both of them, and Bobby was so sweet. Like, there was a scene where they look at these babies particularly, and Eric is like, maybe we should kill these babies. And I mean, yeah, that's probably the best plan. Like, if in one of these movies you wanted like a whole life expectancy, your best bet is to kill a baby. Like, kill a baby, maybe a baby every few years, just to like guarantee yourself life. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm just saying if you really wanted to live, you really could just kill a baby. You know, you can have another baby in 9 months. They didn't kill babies in this movie. Maybe it would have been cool if they did. That would have definitely been interesting. I would have liked to see a baby been killed in the theater. obviously fake, just to see what the audience's reaction would have been. That would have been interesting, but they didn't. Bobby's specifically like, don't touch those babies. So that's when they find this room, the spring, the peanuts, and that leads to all of this. So now the half-brothers, unfortunately, are no mas. They're both dead. Charlie, Steffi, and their mother reconvene outside of the hospital. They're trying to figure out what to do, what's the safest plan, because their mother is next. After their mother, it is going to come for Steffi and then Charlie. So they're thinking about what to do. They decide the safest thing to do would be to go to Iris's cabin. Her cabin was pretty fortified. She had it all decked out. She had William James Bloodworth himself, I think, help her build it, I think it was said, or something. It looks really well built and nice and safe, and was able to keep her alive for 20 years. So they decide to go there. I believe a penny drops from one of them. A penny falls from one of them. Somewhere, somehow, a penny falls out of something. Maybe the car that they're getting in, I don't know. A penny falls on the ground and rolls to a vehicle. We see this elderly woman, same elderly woman that Eric had talked to in the hospital to distract a nurse. It wasn't really important. She picks up this penny and smiles and puts it into her pocket. We cut to the scene of them pulling up at Iris's cabin at night. They proceed to run through the gate. Iris or Steffi can see something happening. She feels like death is around, so they proceed to ram through the gate. However, when they do, something falls from the overhead compartment. Steffi is trapped. Her seatbelt gets locked or something. She's unable to unclick it from the seat, so she tells Charlie and her mother to go. They go ahead, they go up to the house, and they start to open the door. However, we see the plant earlier that was going to catch on fire is hanging by one string. We also see there's some sort of sparking from electrical equipment caused by them ramming the gate. It is starting to spark, and a spark is heading towards the house. The lady, she opens the door slowly. We see the plant, we see the rope snap. The plant falls, turning on some sort of gas in the house. The mother quickly realizes this, quickly smells the gas or sees the spark or something. She yells, "Get down," and she pushes Charlie onto the ground, and then the whole house explodes. It's even it's such a big explosion that the RV that they were in tumbles over, and it sends the driver's side of the RV into the lake. So now Steffi cannot breathe. She's there's a little space of water. She's jammed by her seatbelt, and the water slowly rising. You see that Charlie is trapped under some debris. It's this large piece of metal or wood. He cannot get it off. Their estranged mother's nowhere to be found. She suddenly pops up out of some debris. We can see her face is badly, terribly burned. She grabs the wood. We can see both of her hands are terribly burned. This is probably incredibly painful for her, but she lunges 3 times. She eventually, with some sort of strength, gets this debris off of Charlie. We see, while we were seeing Charlie before we had seen the mother, we see this lamp post. The lamp post almost falls. It just kind of half falls. Well, however, when the mother gets this piece out of the way, we see Charlie was able to move out of the way because he's now out from under it. However, they've scooted over a little bit, so now the mother is kind of in the way. And right as she talks, right as she's, talking to Charlie, she begins to say something to him. We see the big lamp thing fall and smash the mother. This is kind of a callback to the death in, what's his name? Ian McKinley, one of the goth kids in the 3rd movie with the roller coaster. It's kind of akin to his death and kind of akin to the kid's death in the 2nd one with the glass. Was it the 2nd one with the glass? Yeah, it was kind of a callback to those deaths in a way. I think this one was kind of done better though. The big lamp and how it crushes her. And this time it crushes her in front of Charlie. Poor little Charlie sees his mother die right in front of him. So he's oh fuck. He runs into the RV to try to save Steffi. He sees it filling with water. He has to go under the water to see, he goes under the water. He's trying to pull her out of the seatbelt. He first tries the seatbelt, obviously. He's trying to pull her out. He then gets out of the water. He's searching the RV looking for a knife. I guess he cannot find a big kitchen knife because he finds this tiny army knife, little Swiss army knife. Sharp, and it does the job. I feel like a kitchen knife or a bigger knife maybe would have worked faster, but I guess, he just didn't have time to look that long. So he finds this knife, he dives back under the water, and he starts to cut at the seatbelt. However, Steffi is freaking out. She's grabbing at him. She causes him to drop the knife, so he goes under the water. He has to, go, around her feet. I'm surprised he was able to see. Thankfully, there were some lights on from inside the vehicle. So he's looking around for this knife. He grabs the knife, and he goes, I guess he comes up with such force. The blade, the way he's holding it, so here's the butt of the knife, and here's the blade. The blade gets pushed by, with such force he's coming up, the blade gets pushed down by the steering wheel, and it cuts into his finger. We see him, scream. He has to, take it out of his finger real quick, and with that same hand, he goes back under the water. He proceeds to cut Steffi out of her seatbelt, but by this time, we can see that she has blacked out. She is, she's inhaling water. She's passed out. She's presumably dead. Charlie pulls her out of the cab. The next thing we see is Steffi waking up, spitting out water, and Charlie had presumably, he was pumping her chest, presumably giving her mouth-to-mouth CPR. He saved Steffi's life. He woke her up from drowning. When she wakes up, she asks where their mother is. He unfortunately has to tell her that she did just die, while she was in the car, she just died, she was smashed, she's crying, and we see them hugging each other in relief. So we cut to the next scene. A bright and sunny day. We see Charlie standing outside of a house, seems to be in the neighborhood of where his cousins and them live. We see this girl getting out of this house. Earlier in the movie, when they first had went to their cousin's house, their cousin Julia she was talking to Charlie about this promposal he did. He said it went well, so this is presumably his prom date, and they're getting ready for prom. We see Steffi talking to Charlie. They're happy, they're reminiscing, they're just glad to be done with the situation. However, in that moment, we see Steffi fixing his corsage, his rose. She pricks her finger on the thorn of the rose, and she gets a little blood drop. And we remember in the beginning of the movie when Iris, when she was standing outside the front of the Skyview with Paul, her date, she also fixed his flower, and she also pricked her finger. So she's feeling very uneasy right off the bat, and so are we. And then this guy comes to her. He's like, something, I don't know how he gets on the topic, but he was like, well, presumably you didn't actually die. If Charlie was able to save you, if he was able to save, get the water out of your lungs and stuff, he said your heart must not have been stopped if he was able to get it back going.
Well, fine, you're a bigger buzzkill than Buzz Killington. Oh man, this is the best party I've ever been to.
Evening, everyone. I thought it would be very droll if we all sat down and looked at etchings. Would you like to join me, Peter?
Well, we're kind of partying here.
Good. Hold this up. Now, here's a fellow attempting to ride a bicycle. But he's having some trouble, isn't he? Would you like to know why?
Why?
Because he's a Scot. Now, who here likes a good story about a bridge?
So now they're worried, they're really upset. We cut to the older lady we had seen at the hospital scene who found the lucky penny on the ground. She is at this lemonade stand, this little girl selling lemonade. She reaches her little coin purse for 75 cents, and this penny gets knocked out. It proceeds to fall all the way down. It jumps through a bunch of stuff, and it lands in train tracks, and it lands perfectly so that the train tracks, there's a little shifting gear. Well, the shifting metal thing cannot close properly because the penny is causing it to open. So once if a train comes by, the train's wheel is going to cause the metal to splinter, and it's just going to derail the whole thing. And we see that does happen. We also cut back quickly to the party. We see a red car drive over a railroad track like in the beginning of the movie. We also see that Charlie's date to the prom is wearing the exact same dress that Iris was wearing in the beginning of the movie. And now we see that a train is coming. So this train comes, and of course it derails. This one little worthless penny causes this whole massive train derailment. They can hear something crash in the distance, and all of a sudden Steffi and Charlie are being chased by this train. It's just ravaging this neighborhood. They're running. I don't understand why they don't run sideways. They're running straight. However, straight is the direction that the train is going. If I were them, I would have ran, probably actually not directly towards where the tracks, probably would have ran closer to Charlie's direction, back towards the houses and stuff would have ran like sideways instead of straight. But we see it stop, and Steffi like stops right before it gets to Steffi and Charlie, and we're like, thank God. And then all of a sudden, one of the carts that the train was carrying buckles over, like it's just piles up on top of the other ones, and we see these logs barreling down, these two logs. Steffi and Charlie try to run, however, the first huge log pounces right into Steffi and just skids her along the road. She explodes, she's dead, and then we see the same exact thing, boom, right, happened to Charlie right after Steffi. So the movie ends with everybody dying. The loop, I mean, this part of the loop, hopefully for death, is closed. I like that they did that. I like that they did and everybody dies at the end, because they did that with the fifth one as well, and I did like that. It was a very like ballsy ending. It like, you know, circled everything back. This doesn't, like this ending and this beginning, it doesn't make any of like the previous ones, I don't believe, null and void or invalid or something, because, you know, like the flap of the butterfly's wings causes like tsunamis on the other parts of the world. Like somebody being born not supposed to, that could make, that one little thing could lead to a whole new generation, a whole family that was never meant to be here sparking. So yeah, like anything could happen. So like I feel like it all fits in. It all fits in together still tightly and pretty good. And I like how they killed them at the end. They killed them with the logs, and the logs were a callback to the second movie, the big like log truck that causes the whole pile up on, what is it? Is it Route 180? Is that the route road? Like the road's like 180? I'm not sure, but I like how they also didn't bounce this time, because if you don't know, real logs do not bounce, I believe, because they're just so dense. They'll only bounce like a couple inches or a couple centimeters. They won't bounce like a full foot or something. They're just too dense. They're just too heavy. It's just, you know, gravity is just too weak to allow, you know, it's too strong. Gravity's too strong. It won't let the, you know, dense wood bounce any further. If you didn't know that, you know, they won't bounce. So them falling straight, I think it lined up a lot more with what true logs would do, which I like. I like a little bit of realism mixed in, because we already had the pretty crazy but creative and cool deaths with the unregulated amount of magnetism that this machine was able to do. Hopefully this was the only machine in existence. Hopefully this is the only machine of its kind, so this can't actually happen. It's funny that, you know, this train derailment, it cost 1 cent to make, but it like costed, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in road damage, property damages, insurance payouts, funeral expenses, lawsuit expenses. This train company's probably gonna have a big old lawsuit on their hands. I like Tony Todd's character in this. He basically just gives them the information and tells them to get out and leave him alone. That's very realistic. I mean, he's been dealing with this shit for 5 movies. I guess technically 4, since his voice is the only thing that appears in the 3rd movie, but, you know, he's been dealing with this shit long. He's probably tired of it too. He probably is tired of these people that are just gonna die anyways coming and talking to him and giving him the same information, or giving him like some sort of, I don't know, just bothering him with shit that's not gonna matter because they're gonna die anyways. So he's kind of like short with them, and I don't blame him. I would be tired of this shit too after years and years and years of people keep coming to me over some stupid shit I don't even have anything to do with. I mean, yeah, he was the kid in like the original one, but that's it. Like, he's got a job. He's got a job and presumably a family. He's a busy man. In terms of movies, this was probably, honestly, the best Final Destination movie. The way it was shot was so beautiful. The acting was amazing. The storyline was great. The characters were all pretty likable. Some of the movies had unlikable characters, particularly the racist in the 4th movie. Some of the movies had weirder acting, or just less lackluster deaths, lackluster story beats, lackluster storylines. I really liked all of this one. The pacing was great, you know, around the corner, something was waiting for you. The acting was great. You know, there's a lot of laughs in the theater. It was funny. It was scary. It was heart-wrenching. You know, you really did care about this family. You care about all the characters. I loved how it tied in the other movies through the manners of death, through the ways of death. You know, James Bloodworth himself brought up the other characters. They looked up the other characters. This is showing kind of like a prequel and an after of like everything that happens. You know, we kind of get like the prequel in this movie, like the prequel story and the explanation for all the other ones, and we get the story of after. So this movie really just ties up in my opinion, ties up this franchise amazingly. It puts a beautiful bow on the franchise, and there's still room to do other movies, because they could always pick one of the decades, pick just somebody in there, there's always like 8 billion people in the world. There's always, throughout the years, 8 billion people you could pick to make another movie about with the Final Destination story. So I think it just ends it off really, really nicely. And yeah, everything's shot well. I like how this one looks. It probably looks the best out of the other ones. And that's probably just the time. That's not like a bad thing for the other movies. It's just, now I guess maybe technology's better. Just we're able to make things look so much better with the 4K and the whatever. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the characters. Really everything about it was interesting. I enjoyed my experience watching it. It's definitely a solid movie. If you've never seen any of the Final Destination movies, honestly, you don't even need to see any of them. They do talk about the second one and Kimberly Cormick. However, they do give you kind of enough information. They tell you about a bridge. They kind of give you the story. They tell you, like, the end of it, she was able to live. So they give you enough where you could just watch this movie and you would know what the other movies were about, but you wouldn't know, which movie was which. But I feel like you could watch this movie alone. You could watch this movie, I guess not before the other ones, maybe watch, whatever, just because of the timelines and everything. But I feel like, yeah, you can really watch this movie anytime. Like, even if you want to watch the older movies after this one kind of gives you, the prequel story, and then you can, go back and be like, okay, so this is the story before we got here. This are, separate people. It's like The Crossed. There's, a overarching series, but there's, different, you get to little comic books about different time periods, different little settlements of survivors in the Crossed series. So, it's kind of like that. You can pick and choose, or you could go start from the beginning, you could start from the end, and work your way back. A really, really solid series. I've always liked this series, just because it's pretty interesting. I watched the movies growing up. They were coming out, I believe the first one came out before I was born, but maybe the rest came out as I was growing up, so I've seen all of them. It was great experiences watching them when I was younger with my family. I don't know if I've seen any other Final Destination movie in theaters, but I have seen this one in theaters. I love the theater experience. So yeah, I would definitely recommend watching this one, even if you haven't seen the other Final Destination movies, honestly.
The eggs are done.
Thank you, boy. And yeah, that will be my review of Final Destination's Bloodlines, the 6th and possibly final Destination movie. Let me know how you guys felt about this review, particularly if you have seen this movie. Please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Let me know if there's anything that you think that I missed, if there's anything that you think I should have commented on or should have brought up, any story beats that I missed. I had 3 pages of notes, but I probably missed a few things. The opening scene was amazing. Tell me what your favorite part of the opening scene was. The opening scene was crazy. Would you dine at the Skyview? Question to all of you, would you dine at the Skyview? Me, no. I would laugh in my date's face and make him cry for trying to take me to a death trap like that. I'm going home. I don't care. He can cry, he can feel bad about the date. I don't care. He's an idiot. I'm not going up there. Would you guys go, though? I'm not saying you're an idiot if you would go, but would you go up to the Skyview? I'm definitely telling Paul to get Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you particularly to those of you who stayed until the end. Thank you so much for my patrons. We'll see your names on the beginning card and the end card of every single video. Please follow me on all my other social medias. If it's not General Cadaver, then it's Juicebox4Vamps with the number 4. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, and whatever the heck else. I'll try to have them pictured here. Please join my Patreon. Please check the description box for my Buy Me a Coffee, my Mercari, my Depop. Please buy stuff from me, and please, please, please like and subscribe so that I eventually can feed myself, so eventually I can feed my cats, and so eventually I can feed my family. Please, please, please. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm thinking about reviewing Sinners. I need to watch it again. I saw it once, but I need to see it again. I'm thinking about reviewing Sinners, so yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.